Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're embarking on a fascinating exploration of John Green's essay collection, The Anthropocene Reviewed.
Right.
You brought this our way, and it's this wonderfully diverse set of observations, really looking at everything from, Canada geese to the QWERTY keyboard, all through the lens of our human-shaped planet.
hmm
Our goal today is to extract some of the most insightful and maybe even surprising perspectives Green offers, giving you a direct route to understanding these seemingly unrelated topics and their connection to our shared human story.
Absolutely. What's striking about this collection is how Green takes these everyday subjects, these sort of mundane things, and uncovers layers of meaning and connection that you might not have considered before.
Yeah.
It's more than just pointing things out. It's about understanding our place within this, well, this human-dominated era.
Exactly. The essays really cover a huge range. We've got personal reflections on things like dealing with illness and anxiety, right alongside broader looks at cultural landmarks, and I think The Great Gatsby, or even the Nathan's famous hot dog eating contest. Uh-huh.
Then we delve into the history behind scientific discoveries, everyday objects we barely notice, and even natural events we often take for granted. It's a real tapestry, and we're excited to start weaving together some of the most compelling threads for you.
Yeah, the scope is pretty amazing.
Our aim is to give you those aha moments and surprising facts that will hopefully spark your curiosity without getting bogged down in excessive detail.
Okay, let's dive right into one of the foundational ideas. Early on, Green discusses the Anthropocene itself and our position within it. He mentions that his initial approach to writing these reviews was as a disinterested observer, much like how one might traditionally review a book.
Right, he talks about this idea of trying to maintain a certain distance, offering an objective viewpoint. It's a common approach in criticism, isn't it?
It is. But then, a conversation with someone named Sarah really shifted his thinking. She made the point that in this age of the Anthropocene, this era defined by humanity's profound impact, there are actually no truly disinterested observers.
Instead, we're all participants. What's fascinating about this for you, listening, is that it suggests that even our seemingly objective assessments of the world are inherently shaped by our own experiences within it.
Absolutely. And Green really takes this to heart. He realizes that these reviews, in a way, become a form of personal reflection, almost a memoir.
Yeah.
Your own experience, your own connection to the subject matter, it inevitably plays a role. He illustrates this by looking back at his early reviews, specifically those on Diet Dr. Pepper and Canada geese.
Right.
He noticed that initially they lacked that personal connection, that sense of his own involvement.
It's interesting to consider, isn't it, how difficult it can be to truly detach ourselves from our own perspectives. He even mentions how in those early pieces he wrote in this sort of non-fictional version of a third-person omniscient narration, as he puts it. With Diet Dr. Pepper, for example. He didn't even mention his own deep affection for it. It makes you wonder, in your own life, how often do you think your personal feelings color your perceptions, even when you try to be objective?
That's a great point. And this idea of shared participation, this interconnectedness, it really solidified for him with the arrival of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Oh, definitely.
He started writing about that experience directly, acknowledging that he was living right in the middle of it, just like all of us.
The pandemic really brought that interconnectedness into sharp focus, didn't it? We were all participants in this global event, sharing this experience in ways that perhaps weren't always so obvious before.
Yeah.
Even in isolation, there was this profound sense of a shared human reality.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Green also delves quite a bit into the themes of mortality and hope throughout these essays. He reflects on this very human tendency to equate the end of humanity with the end of the world. Why do you think we often make that connection?
Well, he astutely points out that this is often linked to our linear view of time and existence. We tend to see things as having a beginning and an end.
Right, straight line.
Exactly. He contrasts this with more cyclical cosmologies like Hindu eschatology, which envision these vast repeating cycles of creation, preservation, and destruction spanning billions of years.
Wow.
This broader perspective really puts our current anxieties into a different context, doesn't it?
It does. He reminds us that even if humanity were to disappear, the planet itself would very likely recover. He even brings up the Permian extinction event from 250 million years ago.
Whoa.
A truly cataclysmic event where something like 95% of Earth's species went extinct, yet life eventually bounced back, even if it took millions of years.
Right. Life finds a way, as they say.
It makes you think about the resilience of life itself, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And he lays out this timeline of life on Earth, noting how multicellular life appeared relatively late, dinosaurs even later, and humans as an incredibly recent arrival.
Like super recent.
Yeah, in the grand scheme of things, our time here so far is just a tiny fraction. So when we worry about the end of the world, perhaps we're really worrying about something much more specific, the end of our story.
And he touches on this fear of humanity's end, not just as a biological event, but also as the end of our collective memory.
Hmm.
He uses the powerful example of Billie Holiday's records, suggesting that if no one is left to play them, those songs, in a very real sense, won't make a sound anymore.
Yeah.
It's a poignant thought about the legacy we leave behind and the importance of cultural memory for you to consider.
But despite these anxieties about the future, Green also finds comfort in certain enduring phenomena, like the predictable return of Halley's Comet.
Ah, yes.
He recounts how Edmund Halley, through historical observations and what he terms lateral thinking, was able to predict its return. That story about the map of England really sticks with you, doesn't it?
Oh, that's a fantastic story. How Halley just took a map, cut out the biggest circle he could, and then used the weight difference to estimate the acreage of the entire country.
I got super close.
Getting within just 1% of contemporary calculations. It's that kind of ingenious problem solving that's so inspiring. What does that tell you about the power of observation and creative thinking?
It certainly highlights human ingenuity. However, Green also reminds us to remember Halley within his historical context, acknowledging his participation in the Atlantic slave trade and the broader tide of empire.
Right. That's important
It's
context.
a crucial point for you to consider. How do we reconcile the scientific achievements of historical figures with the ethical complexities of their lives and times?
Absolutely. And even Halley's scientific ideas weren't always correct. The example of him proposing a second Earth inside our own
Huh. Yeah, that was a bit out there.
is a great reminder that even incorrect scientific ideas can contribute to the evolution of knowledge. It's like science is this ongoing conversation where even wrong answers can lead us closer to better understanding.
Exactly. It's a process of refinement, of building upon previous ideas, even if those ideas are later proven wrong. By the time Halley's Comet reappeared in 1986, our understanding of the Earth's structure was vastly different, a testament to that progress.
Right.
So even ideas that seem outlandish now might hold a piece of the puzzle for future understanding.
Moving on, Green explores our capacity for wonder, and he starts with that incredibly famous sentence from The Great Gatsby about the Dutch sailor's initial awe upon seeing what would become New York.
The fresh green breast of the New World.
Yeah. He points out that this particular sentence survived numerous revisions of the novel. What do you think made that specific line so resonant?
It seems Fitzgerald recognized the power of that initial encounter, that profound sense of witnessing something entirely new and immense.
Mm-hmm.
And despite the extensive editing process, that core image, that feeling of wonder, remained essential to the story. For you listening, it highlights the enduring power of that initial sense of awe and discovery.
And yet, Gatsby itself had a rather circuitous journey to becoming a literary icon. The initial reviews were quite poor, with some critics even suggesting Fitzgerald's promise as a writer was unfulfilled.
Right. Hard to believe now.
It really makes you wonder about how our appreciation for art can change over time, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. It highlights how subjective and how time-dependent our appreciation of art can be. What resonates deeply in one era might be dismissed or misunderstood in another.
So true.
This reminds you that your own connection to art is a personal and evolving experience.
But then, during World War II, something interesting happened. The Great Gatsby, along with many other books, was distributed to soldiers through Armed Services Edition.
The ASEs, yeah.
And this exposure to a wider audience really helps solidify its later iconic status. It's fascinating how historical circumstances can reshape our cultural landscape.
The slogan was, "Books are weapons in the war of ideas," which is a powerful nation. And it's interesting how this program, intended for a specific purpose during wartime, inadvertently played a significant role in the long-term reception of a novel. It makes you consider how unexpected events can influence the trajectory of art and culture.
Green then connects this idea of our changing connection to art and the past to something very personal. His children's hand stencils from when they were younger.
Huh.
He talks about the soul-splitting joy of seeing them now, recognizing that his children are growing away from him. It's a poignant reminder of the passage of time, isn't it?
It is a beautiful and relatable observation about how our perception of even our own personal history evolves over time, gaining new layers of meaning and emotion as we ourselves change and our loved ones grow.
Yeah.
It highlights for you how even seemingly small mementos can become incredibly powerful over time.
And speaking of looking into the past, he then recounts the discovery of the Lascaux cave paintings in France by a group of teenagers in 1940.
Right, and Robot the dog.
Including the poignant story of Simon Koenkes, a Jewish refugee seeking shelter during the Nazi occupation. That detail about Simon's story really adds a layer of depth, doesn't it?
It certainly does. Knowing the historical context and the immense dangers he and his family faced at that time makes the discovery even more significant. It adds such a human element to this incredible glimpse into the distant past.
Absolutely. And the interpretation of those ancient hand stencils, "I was here, you are not new," it's such a powerful connection across millennia.
Yeah.
It speaks to this fundamental human desire to be acknowledged, to leave some kind of mark.
Really taps into something universal, that innate human need for connection and recognition that transcends time. What does that primal message, "I was here," resonate with in you?
Sadly, the Lascaux cave has been closed to the public for many years now because the very act of human presence, even just our breathing, led to the growth of mold and lichens that damaged the art.
Ugh, that's rough.
It's a sobering reminder that sometimes our very presence can have unintended and negative consequences.
It underscores the delicate balance between our desire to experience these wonders and our responsibility to preserve them for future generations.
Mm-hmm.
It forces you to consider the impact of your own presence in the world and the choices we make regarding preservation.
Let's shift gears a bit and talk about artificiality and memory. Green delves into the strange allure of scratch and sniff stickers, these artificial attempts to capture natural smells that often end up feeling quite synthetic.
Ah, yeah, I remember those.
What's your take on why these artificial scents can be so evocative?
Well, what's fascinating is how often these aggressively artificial smells, like cotton candy, are the ones most successfully captured, perhaps because they aren't tied to a complex web of natural associations.
Right, like less baggage.
Exactly.
Right.
And then there are the more straightforwardly chemical smells, like the rotten egg odor added to natural gas as a safety measure, which actually led to some unintended consequences with those scratch and sniff safety cards.
Oh, that's right. Baltimore Gas and Electric sent out cards that mimicked the smell so well that hundreds of people called the fire department to report leaks.
Yeah, they had to pull them really quickly.
It's a humorous example of how our senses can be easily fooled by artificial stimuli.
It's a bit of an uncanny valley of scent, perhaps. But Green also shares a personal connection to scratch and sniff stickers, how they became a source of comfort for him during a difficult period of bullying in middle school. That personal connection really changes how you view something seemingly trivial, doesn't it?
It does. Even amidst that physical and emotional pain, these stickers offered a small escape, a connection to a time and place that felt safer. It makes you think about the unexpected sources of comfort we find in our lives, doesn't it?
It highlights how seemingly trivial things can hold significant emotional weight and become deeply tied to our personal histories. The challenge for these sticker makers, he argues, isn't really to perfectly mimic the natural world.
Which is impossible anyway.
Right, which is so intertwined with human experience anyway, but to create a combination of smells that triggers those personal memories in us. For you, it raises the question of what seemingly insignificant things might hold powerful emotional connections.
And even though we've artificialized so much, he notes that truly capturing scent in an artificial way is something we haven't quite mastered.
Still tricky.
When he opens his old sticker book, what he smells most isn't the promised pizza or chocolate, but the ghost of his own childhood. It's that personal connection to the past that seems to be the most potent aspect of these artificial scents.
Absolutely. It's less about the accuracy of the artificial scent and more about its ability to unlock a personal memory or feeling.
He then moves on to the uniquely artificial flavor of Dr. Pepper, a soda intentionally created to mimic the smell of a soda fountain, a swirl of all those artificial flavors in the air.
So meta.
And it's categorized as a pepper soda despite containing no actual pepper. What does that tell you about our human desire to categorize and label things, even when they defy easy definition?
That's such a curious detail. The name refers either to the spice or to this sense of pep it's supposed to give you. And it's the only category of soda not really named for its taste,
Weird.
which he sees as a really interesting moment in human history, the creation of this purely artificial flavor profile that doesn't have a direct analog in nature. It really highlights our ability to create entirely new sensory experiences.
And then there's the success of Diet Dr. Pepper, with its slogan focusing on how much it tastes like the original.
Tastes more like regular Dr. Pepper, yeah.
Unlike other diet sodas that are often barely recognizable as relatives of their full sugar counterparts, it shows the power of that original artificial flavor, doesn't it?
It does. It highlights the deliberate effort to replicate that unique artificiality, to maintain that specific flavor profile that doesn't have a natural equivalent. It suggests that sometimes the artificial can become its own standard.
Now, let's delve into some of Green's challenging perceptions. He starts with the inaccuracies of velociraptors as portrayed in Jurassic Park.
Oh yeah, big time.
They weren't 6-foot-tall, scaly predators from Montana. What was the reality of these creatures?
No, the actual Velociraptor mongoliensis was closer to the size of a turkey, lived in Mongolia and China, and was likely covered in feathers.
Feathers, right.
They were probably more opportunistic scavengers than the fearsome hunters depicted in the movies. This discrepancy highlights how popular culture can create powerful but inaccurate narratives that shape our understanding of the world.
Totally.
It reminds you to be critical of even seemingly factual portrayals in entertainment.
And Michael Crichton, the author of Jurassic Park, actually based his velociraptors on a different dinosaur, the Deinonychus.
Right, which was bigger and from Montana.
Which did live in Montana and was closer in size. He chose the name Velociraptor simply because he thought it sounded more dramatic.
So sometimes storytelling trumps accuracy, doesn't it?
Seems like it. Which also explains the misnomer of Jurassic Park itself, as most of the dinosaurs featured in the park actually lived during the Cretaceous period, not the Jurassic.
Yeah, minor detail, right. It seems dramatic license took precedence over paleontological accuracy. This makes you wonder about the other ways that narrative shapes our understanding of history and science.
He then draws some surprising parallels between Canada geese and humans. Both have seen dramatic population increases in recent decades, with a similar percentage of both populations living in or near urban areas. Did you find this comparison surprising?
I did. It's quite striking when you consider it. And like humans, Canada geese often mate for life, though perhaps sometimes unhappily. Their success has also led to environmental impacts, much like our own, with a single goose producing a significant amount of waste each year, affecting local water quality.
Wow.
This surprising comparison underscores your role in shaping the environment, even unintentionally, and the complex relationships that arise from that.
And, just like us, geese have few natural predators in these human-dominated environments. If they die violently, it's almost always due to human activity.
Right. Cars, planes.
Yet, despite thriving in our artificial lakes and manicured lawns, they seem to hold nothing but disdain for actual humans, honking and biting to keep us away.
They really do.
It's a rather conflicted relationship, isn't it? What might Green be implying about our relationship with the wild in this observation for you?
It's as if they've adapted to our world but haven't actually embraced us. It raises questions about the nature of coexistence and the often unacknowledged impacts of human development on other species.
And it leads to this interesting point about the evolution of the teddy bear. It originated from a response to Teddy Roosevelt's bear hunting trip.
Where he refused to shoot the bear cub, yeah.
But over time, the bears of our imagination have become increasingly sweet and cuddly, from Winnie the Pooh to the Care Bears. What does this shift in our perception of bears tell us about ourselves?
This shift reflects a changing human perception of bears, perhaps moving from creatures to be hunted to those to be pitied and preserved, as seen in the way polar bears are now used to symbolize the impact of climate change. It highlights how our cultural symbols evolve to reflect our changing values and concerns.
Let's move on to the unseen infrastructure, starting with the invention of air conditioning by Willis Carrier in 1902.
AC? Can't live without it sometimes.
It wasn't initially intended for comfort, but to solve a humidity problem in a printing company. That's a pretty unexpected origin story for something so ubiquitous, isn't it?
It is. The warping of magazine pages due to summer humidity was the initial problem. Carrier's invention, which essentially reversed the process of electric heating, had this very useful side effect of cooling the air.
Just a side effect.
This accidental byproduct has had a profound and largely invisible impact on our world.
And this seemingly simple invention has had a profound impact on human life, from the ability to print books consistently to dramatic changes in architectural design and, of course, personal comfort.
Oh, huge changes. Think about skyscrapers, server rooms.
It's become so ingrained in our lives that we often don't even think about it.
It's become so integral that we often take it for granted. Yet, as he points out, heat waves are a major cause of death today, even more so in milder climates where air conditioning is less common.
Right.
The European heat wave in 2003 was a stark reminder of this. It makes you consider the hidden dependencies we have on technologies we often overlook.
And he raises this really important point about climate change being perhaps the biggest shared challenge we face, and the possibility that future generations will judge us harshly for our inaction,
Yeah.
especially knowing that we've understood the impact of carbon emissions for decades. That potential for historical judgment is a sobering thought.
It's that sense of collective responsibility and the potential for historical judgment that's quite sobering. He also touches on how air conditioning blurs the lines between what we consider outside and inside,
Mm.
highlighting our dependence on and integration with this modified nature. It makes you think about how our definitions of natural are constantly being shaped by technology.
He even brings up studies on office temperatures and the historical bias towards male preferences in defining room temperature, which can actually impact workplace productivity.
Oh, I've heard about that. It's always freezing in offices.
It's a reminder that even seemingly objective standards can be influenced by social biases.
It is. And Green himself acknowledges his personal reliance on air conditioning and how his definition of what feels natural has shifted over time.
Right.
It forces you to consider how your own perceptions of comfort and normalcy are shaped by the technologies around you.
Now let's consider invisible threats and progress. Green shares his own experience of being colonized by an aggressive staph bacteria and how modern medicine was able to help him.
Yikes.
His doctor's somewhat casual remark about his fascinatingly aggressive staph really underscores the complex relationship we have with these tiny organisms, doesn't it?
It does. Only a minority of us persistently carry Staphylococcus aureus, and those who do are more prone to infections. His experience highlights the constant, often invisible, battles our bodies wage and the crucial role of medical intervention.
This leads him to reflect on the historical impact of Joseph Lister's antiseptic techniques on surgery,
Right.
which truly transformed it from what was essentially a hazardous lottery.
Oh, completely.
It's hard to imagine surgery before antiseptics, isn't it?
The pre-antiseptic era in surgery was terrifying, with patients often succumbing to infection even after successful procedures. Lister's work with carbolic acid and sterilization drastically improved survival rates. It's a powerful example of scientific progress directly saving lives.
And he mentions Alexander Ogston, a huge admirer of Lister, who actually identified Staphylococcus aureus. Ogston's personal connection to infection through the death of his first wife after childbirth adds a poignant layer to his work.
Wow, I didn't know that.
That personal motivation must have been incredibly powerful.
It certainly underscores his dedication to understanding and combating these invisible threats. Then, of course, there's the discovery of penicillin by Alexander Fleming,
The moldy bread story. Well, sort of.
and the significant challenges in scaling up its production for widespread use. That story really highlights the long and often difficult path from scientific discovery to widespread benefit.
The story of the first human trial of penicillin on Albert Alexander is both hopeful and tragic, showing its potential but also the limitations of early supplies, ultimately not being enough to save him.
Yeah, they ran out.
It's a powerful reminder of both the promise and the fragility of early medical breakthroughs.
It is. It underscores that scientific progress is often a step-by-step process with both triumphs and heartbreaking setbacks along the way.
Let's turn our attention to the internet's double edge. Green reflects on his own contrasting experiences with the internet, seeing it as both a lifeline and a source of overwhelming information.
Yeah, the duality is real.
Many of us can probably relate to that duality, can't we?
He talks about the early internet as this space for self-expression and a way to escape from physical anxieties, a place where he wasn't defined by his physical limitations.
Uh-huh.
It offered a sense of freedom and connection that was groundbreaking at the time.
But he contrasts that with the complexity of modern information access and the blurring of privacy lines through social media and search engines.
for now.
He shares a personal anecdote from his time as a student chaplain at a children's hospital, a moment of intense human suffering in the ER. That experience in the windowless family room must have been incredibly difficult.
It clearly had a lasting impact on him. He describes the fear of knowing versus not knowing, his initial reluctance to Google the name of a child he encountered in the hospital.
Hmm.
It's that fear of what information might reveal, the potential for both comfort and pain that knowledge can bring.
It was that fear of what he might find, that Robert Penn Warren quote about knowledge saving or killing us. But he eventually did Google the child's name years later and found an unexpected positive outcome.
Oh, that's good.
That outcome led to a more nuanced view of the practice of Googling strangers, acknowledging both its potential for anxiety and its capacity to provide connection or closure. It really highlights the unpredictable nature of information in the digital age.
Exactly. It shows that even in our attempts to understand the world through information, there's always an element of uncertainty and the potential for the unexpected.
Now, Green explores finding meaning in the mundane and the grand, starting with Indianapolis, his adopted hometown, and its unexpected appeal. It's interesting how our perceptions of places can change over time, isn't it?
He moved there somewhat reluctantly, but has come to appreciate its own unique character. He then juxtaposes that with the vast resources we pour into something like Kentucky bluegrass lawns in the
Oh,
U.S.,
the lawns.
exceeding what we devote to food crops, despite its purely ornamental function. It makes you think about our priorities and the cultural values we embody.
It's a staggering amount of land and water dedicated to something we can't even eat or use practically. He even mentions his neighbor's pride in having the nicest lawn in the neighborhood, highlighting this cultural obsession with perfectly manicured grass.
Yeah.
What does this tell you about our pursuit of aesthetics, even over practicality?
It really underscores the power of cultural norms and the often unquestioned values we hold as a society.
Then he delves into the seemingly absurd but ultimately fascinating Indianapolis 500.
The Indy 500.
This annual ritual of cars driving in circles at incredible speeds. It certainly seems easy to dismiss, but he finds something deeper there, this examination of the relationship between humans and machines pushed to their absolute limits.
Right.
What do you make of our fascination with these kinds of extreme competitions?
It taps into something primal, perhaps our fascination with speed, risk, and human skill pushed to the edge. He talks about the communal experience of attending the race and the unexpected connections it fosters, highlighting how shared experiences, even seemingly unusual ones, can bring people together.
And then there's the enduring appeal of the board game Monopoly, which he sees as a reflection of real-world issues of wealth disparity and this illusion that accumulating more will bring fulfillment,
Which usually doesn't.
quite contrary to the original intentions of its creator, Elizabeth Maggie.
Mhm.
It's ironic how a game designed to critique capitalism became such a symbol of it, isn't it?
It is. Maggie's original game, The Landlord's Game, was actually designed to illustrate the problems with monopolies, and her ideas were somewhat ironically co-opted into this celebration of ruthless capitalism.
Wow.
It's a cautionary tale about how the meaning and impact of our creations can be twisted and reinterpreted.
Finally, he looks at the unpredictable element of question boxes in Mario Kart
The blue shell.
and how they either reflect or completely subvert real-world power dynamics, where those who are already ahead often receive even more advantages. It's a playful way to think about fairness and chance, isn't it?
It is. It's that idea of built-in advantages versus the artificial leveling provided by the game's mechanics, a really interesting parallel to consider in the context of real-world systems.
Moving into shared experiences and finding connection, Green discusses the concept of third things in relationships' shared interests, like art, books, or activities, and their crucial role in building bonds.
There's no common ground.
As seen in his early connection with his wife Sarah through art and a book club, what role do these third things play in your own relationships?
That initial shared experience of looking at Ruby Chishti's sculptures and later discussing the human stain really laid the foundation for their relationship. These shared interests provide common ground and facilitate deeper connection. He then reflects on a seemingly mundane conversation in Wendover, Nevada, highlighting the things left unsaid and the enduring presence of the past. It's a reminder that even brief encounters can carry layers of unspoken history.
That encounter at the casino, the brief exchange with James, and the unspoken weight of their histories, it's a powerful reminder of how much we carry with us.
Yeah. He then connects that to the geological history of the Bonneville Salt Flats, that vast empty expanse, and the feeling of time and the insignificance of human endeavors in the face of nature's grand scale.
Right, puts things in perspective.
It's that perspective shift that nature often provides, isn't it?
It is. It reminds us of the long arc of time and our relatively brief moment within it. He also touches on the captivating nature of Hiroyuki Doi's intricate circle drawings. and their ability to evoke a sense of depth and immersion.
Oh, those are amazing.
Those meticulously crafted drawings, made up of thousands of tiny circles, create this almost meditative experience for the viewer, drawing you into their complexity. What do you find captivating about art that draws you in?
And he shares a very personal story about the frantic rush of getting a child ready and the unexpected power of a whispered secret,
Mm,
highlighting the need for quiet connection amidst the chaos of daily life. That moment of connection with his daughter amidst the frenzy is a beautiful reminder of what truly matters. It highlights the importance of those small, intimate moments. It does. Even in the midst of our busy lives, those moments of quiet connection can be incredibly significant.
Shifting to the nature of illness and resilience, Green grapples with the minuscule size but immense number of viruses. It's almost incomprehensible trillions of viruses for every grain of sand on Earth.
Yeah, the scale is staggering. Hard to wrap your head around.
It truly is. He then delves into the inadequacy of language to truly describe pain, particularly the enduring nature of pain during illnesses like viral meningitis, which he experienced.
Oh, that sounds awful.
He talks about how all our descriptions, sharp, dull, burning, are just metaphors, never truly capturing the lived experience of that intense and persistent pain.
Right. Words fail sometimes.
It reminds you of the limitations of language when trying to convey deeply personal experiences.
He notes that sick days have a different kind of temporality, feeling endless. And he stresses the meaninglessness of disease, the importance of not assigning some punitive narrative to it.
Yeah, that's key.
His viral meningitis wasn't a lesson, it was just an illness. That's an important perspective, isn't it? To remove any sense of blame or punishment from illness.
It is. It helps to destigmatize illness and focus on healing rather than assigning moral weight to it.
This leads him to draw historical parallels between the COVID-19 pandemic and past epidemics like cholera and the Black Death,
Oh boy.
noting the recurring themes of misinformation, disproportionate impact on the poor, and social breakdown, including the abandonment of the sick. It's sobering to see these patterns repeating throughout history.
It is. Yet, amidst the horrors, he also highlights historical examples of care and resilience in the face of these pandemics, like the physician Guy de Chauliac, who stayed in Avignon during the plague to treat patients despite his own fear.
Right, people stepping up.
These stories of human compassion in the face of crisis offer a glimmer of hope.
Moving towards the end, he reflects on finding beauty in the mundane and meaning in connection, starting with the extended feeling of January and the shifting perception of weather.
Yeah, January can feel long.
He plays with this idea of time feeling distorted and our relationship with the natural world evolving.
He touches on the literary concept of pathetic fallacy, our tendency to ascribe human emotions to nature.
Like the weather reflecting our mood.
And he even finds a kind of personal fondness for wintry mix, associating it with home despite its generally unpleasant nature.
Wintry mix. Really?
Yeah. It really underscores this idea that we humans are meaning-making machines, finding significance even in seemingly meaningless phenomena. What seemingly unpleasant things do you have positive associations with?
And he shares a lovely anecdote about finding beauty in a wintry mix evening through connection and perspective, highlighting that who you're with and how you're looking matters more than what you're looking at.
Ah, that's nice.
It's a reminder that beauty is often found in the eye of the beholder and in shared moments.
It is. Connection and perspective can transform even the most ordinary experiences.
He then recounts an experience of unexpected joy in Reykjavik, Iceland, after a football victory.
The Iceland soccer team, yeah.
This spontaneous eruption of shared human experience and unexpected connection. It's this visceral moment of collective elation. Have you ever experienced that kind of unexpected shared joy?
That feeling of being swept up in a wave of communal joy, even without fully understanding the reason, is a powerful testament to our social nature. He also looks back at notes he's taken over time, revealing forgotten thoughts and the significance of seemingly small moments and shared references. It's like these little time capsules of his own life, capturing fleeting thoughts and connections.
Right, like finding an old journal.
What do your old notes or mementos reveal to you about your past self?
And he expresses his enduring and unconditional love for the band The Mountain Goats, their music serving as a constant companion. That kind of deep, long-term connection with art can be so significant in our lives.
Oh, absolutely. Music especially.
It can provide comfort, inspiration, and a sense of continuity throughout our lives.
He then delves into the evolution of the everyday, looking at the somewhat accidental and collaborative invention of the QWERTY keyboard layout.
QWERTY. our constant companion.
Influenced by a whole cast of characters, from telegraph operators to a vegetarian with a brother interested in letter frequency. It wasn't the work of a single genius, but a product of many different needs and influences.
So random, kind of.
It makes you think about the often unseen forces that shape the tools we use every day.
It wasn't, and despite its imperfections and numerous attempts at improvement, QWERTY has persisted.
Like the Dvorak keyboard, yeah. Never caught on.
This highlights how ingrained certain technologies can become, even if they aren't the most efficient.
And for Green, typing holds a personal significance, a form of self-expression and escape in his youth when he felt anxious and self-conscious.
Mhm.
It became a way to connect and communicate without the vulnerability of physical presence. What tools or technologies have held a similar personal significance for you?
It's a reminder that even the most mundane objects can hold deep personal meaning and be tied to significant moments in our lives.
He then looks at the human obsession and meaning-making through the lens of America's fascination with world's largest objects,
Ball of twine.
like giant balls of paint or rubber bands. It's the seemingly pointless but perhaps beautiful dedication to creating something monumental out of the mundane, like Joel Wall's years-long endeavor to build the world's largest rubber band ball.
That takes dedication.
What do you make of this human impulse to create the world's largest of things?
It seems to tap into a desire to leave a mark, to achieve something extraordinary, even if it's seemingly arbitrary.
He then tackles the fundamental why of existence through the childhood game of endless questioning,
Why? Yeah.
eventually confronting the discomfort of nihilism. That descent into ultimate meaninglessness can be unsettling.
It can. But he finds solace in the simple presence of sycamore trees, their ability to transform the elements into life, offering a sense of peace in the present moment.
Just trees.
It's a reminder that meaning can sometimes be found in the simplest of things, in the here and now.
And a moment of connection with his son reminds him of the value of love in the face of those big existential questions. It's that human connection that often provides the most profound sense of purpose.
It does. In the face of the vastness and uncertainty of existence, our relationships often provide the most meaningful anchors.
He unpacks the personal significance of the song New Partner by Palace Music, a song that resonates deeply with him, despite its lyrical ambiguity.
Right, sometimes you don't know exactly why a song hits you.
He connects it to a difficult time as a student chaplain, that shared human experience of loss and uncertainty, acknowledging the deeply personal nature of our connections to art. What pieces of art hold a similar personal significance for you, even if the reasons are hard to articulate?
It highlights how art can become a container for our emotions and experiences, offering solace and connection in unexpected ways.
Finally, he reflects on history, memory, and the fleeting present, looking at a photo booth strip with his wife and a photograph by August Sander titled Three Farmers on Their Way to a Dance.
That Sander photo is iconic.
That photo booth strip becomes a marker of time, a reminder of past selves and how our perspectives shift. And Sanders' photograph, initially seeming like a simple depiction of rural life, reveals a more complex story of young mine workers on the cusp of a world war.
Ah, right, they weren't actually farmers.
The revelation that these farmers were actually mine workers, participating in the industrial economy that would fuel the coming war, adds a layer of historical irony and poignancy. He also reflects on a pre-pandemic photograph with friends, highlighting how quickly historical context can change.
Yeah, photos from 2019 feel different now.
It underscores the impossibility of truly holding fast to history as it constantly recedes and reshapes our understanding.
It does. He concludes with this thought on the simultaneous power and fragility of humanity in the Anthropocene, echoing Robert Frost's idea of a poem riding on its own melting.
Wow. Riding on its own melting.
It's a beautiful and somewhat melancholic image of our fleeting existence.
So, as we bring this deep dive to a close, what for you are some of the key insights that emerge from John Green's reflections in the Anthropocene Reviewed?
I think what really stands out is the way Green illuminates the extraordinary within the ordinary. He takes these seemingly commonplace subjects, a soda, a bird, keyboard, and reveals these layers of history, science, and human connection that you might never have considered.
Yeah.
It highlights how interconnected everything truly is and how our human experience is woven into the fabric of the planet in surprising ways.
Consider those intriguing specifics we discussed, like the surprising evolutionary journey embedded in the Canada goose's urban adaptation, or the accidental origins of something as integral to our modern lives as the QWERTY keyboard.
Right. Who knew?
These details really drive home the idea that there's always a richer, more nuanced story waiting to be uncovered when we take the time to look a little closer at the world around us.
This deep dive has really only scratched the surface of John Green's insightful collection. We definitely encourage you to explore the Anthropocene Reviewed further for yourself.
Definitely.
It really prompts you to consider what other seemingly ordinary things in your own life hold extraordinary stories? And in what other ways are we all active and interconnected participants in this human-centered planet?
And on that note, here's a final thought for you to ponder. Thinking back to that image of Sanders' young farmers, or rather young miners, poised on the very edge of a world about to be irrevocably transformed by war, what seemingly ordinary moment are we living in right now, perhaps equally unaware of the profound transformations that lie just ahead?